Hello, my name is Andrey Lobanov, and this is Self-Help Against Viral Infections, Prevention and Recovery. Today we are going to speak about a difficult but very effective practice that we use in our yoga lamp system as one of significant pranayamas. We call it Pranic breathing. This practice is described in our book. There are different programs we offer as pranayamas. It has different depth levels. Today we are going to learn the simplest basic level that awakes so to speak, body's defenses, which give energy and ability to heal a lot of diseases. This is effective in heart diseases because there is a good contact with vessels due to these movements we are doing. Now, some theory. What's the goal? There is research that suggests that we once lived with a minimum amount of oxygen. Not we, but our distant and very distant ancestors. When there was little oxygen on the planet, there were a lot of CO2 and other gases. That's why our breathing, well, important processes started in cells. The cells themselves began to release oxygen using chemical processes. We have preserved this ability deep in our gene memory. The goal of this practice is to awake that ability to switch to the inner respiration, so-called endogenic respiration, when the cells begin to use that ability. They remember that they can do that, and then these mechanisms are turned on. That is, the need for inhaled air becomes minimal. Why do we need that? Well, oddly enough, this process activates a lot of inner resources. It is necessary to restore our health. Moreover, there is a wide range of diseases that we can cure and get rid of them. This includes high blood pressure, heart diseases, and is believed that it helps by cancer. There are studies that confirm the results. This doesn't replace treatment, of course, but complements it, and we can activate the body's defenses. Here, there is the respiratory tract that is important for many of us now who are afraid of virus or who are already ill. Therefore, it is a good treatment method. The importance of this practice is confirmed by my personal experience and by those patients I offered to use it, who really believe in that thing, because belief is also important. A person must be motivated by this practice, because it's not easy. We either do it or we don't. In order to do it, you need a desire, a good and stable desire. The purpose of this practice for you to understand what you are doing is difficulty in breathing. Gradual and stepwise difficulty of respiration. That is, making it difficult to breathe, we begin to create conditions for awakening of the mechanism that is hidden in our genes. When cells begin to switch to this reaction on their own and begin to produce oxygen, they begin to release it by switching to other chemical and biochemical reactions. Alright, first breathing difficulty we create is the glottis. The glottis can be opened. Usually, it is opened when we breathe, so we breathe calmly and can hardly hear how we inhale and exhale. When we deliberately narrow the glottis, air begins to pass with a hissing sound. Like in pipes, when someone did not open a tap completely, there is such a noise. We make the sound when we squeeze the glottis, and the air goes through with such sound effect, like a sound flow. This is the first stage. This is called a 7 steps gradual learning program. 7 steps of Pranic breathing. And it was the first step to master this practice. So, the first stage when we use full breath squeezing the glottis. Training is long enough. If you have never done any breathing practices, after a while you feel dizzy, and you need to adapt to that shortness starting with your vessels. They will react. This is your brain, and you will feel a little dizzy. That's why keep training. Do that until slight discomfort. If you feel discomfort, stop it. Make a pause. Then do next series. And literally, after a week of practice, you will have a good adaptation and you will be able to do it long enough. When you feel you have learned well this level, we move to the next one that includes switching to diaphragmatic respiration. We use abdominal breathing, and your thorax doesn't participate. You can find the technique of the lower breathing mastering in our beginners program. You can control this by using hands. Put one hand on the thorax to not let it go up. The other hand is on the navel with the little finger and on the xiphoid process with the thumb. Breathe in, breathe out. The chest should not rise. Only the diaphragm is involved. The diaphragm between fingers goes up and down. On inhale, it goes up. On exhale, it goes down. In order not to make life breathing difficult for ourselves, we add the first level we have already learned. It is called Ujjayi breathing, or so-called breathing with the squeezed glottis. We inhale with the squeezed glottis and exhale. You also master this level after some time. Everyone has its own time. Some adapt quickly, while others adapt long and slowly, but there will be a result. Then there is a third stage of this level when you do stepwise breathing on inhale. I mean, inhale is stepwise. If you breathe in with the closed, squeezed glottis when inhale is noisy. This will be the diaphragm. I'll show you like this. You inhale, exhale, again inhale. How many steps? At first it is better to make a small number of steps, because it is much easier when you do 3 steps. 3 steps before inhale, and a small break for 1 or 2 seconds. You take a short pause between those steps. Inhale, and exhale. The next step is when you breathe out stepwise as well. This is a more difficult level when you perform some actions with the diaphragm. Here you need to understand how the lung tissue works in that moment. Imagine that. Well, you know that the lung tissue is bubbles, like bunches of grapes. The wall of that bunch of grapes has a certain thickness. The thickness through which the vessel, the capillary, passes. It has exactly the size that the capillary can enter it, and red blood cells that go through the capillary comes to that wall, and there will be gas exchange. This is inside, and that is outside, and the capillary goes through. If the wall wouldn't thick, it goes through easily. But if you begin to extend it, to stretch it like a balloon, when you take it at both ends and stretch, its wall becomes thinner. The same thing happens when we do the breathing on exhale. I mean, we will stretch our lung tissue with the diaphragm, and the membrane is attached to the diaphragm, which is capable to act on the lung tissue. When we use the diaphragm to lower and press it down while the tap is closed, the glottis is closed. We have a closed space which is stretched as well, like this is a balloon. And you have tied it on one end and stretching it on the other. What is happening here? That capillary that used to easily go through the thickness doesn't enter it because it becomes thinner. Therefore, red blood cell doesn't enter it as well, and gas exchange is difficult, just like how we want it. Gradually, we must move to the state of inclusion of resources, inner resources, which turn on additional energy in our body. Okay, what are we going to do on that stage? First inhale. Exhale. Stepwise exhale, but on exhale, our glottis is opening. The diaphragm is opening on exhale on a step, then it's closing. We tighten the diaphragm and lower it. 1, 2, exhale, release the glottis, lower the diaphragm. It does the next step. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. That was the next layer, maybe the most difficult one, because you must feel the diaphragm well, manage it during the process, and synchronize movements of the diaphragm and the glottis. We close it and stretch the balloon between them. That was the next level. The next stage is the fifth stage. We are going to make pauses, first between inhales, and on the next stage, the sixth stage, there will be pauses between inhale and exhale. I mean, between inhale and exhale, exhale and inhale. This is the first phase, when we inhale stepwise. We can slightly close the glottis, but it is okay to keep in that state. But it's better to close it and stretch. Hold. Exhale. Pause. Next, inhale. So, that is how we work. It is very important to do it gradually, step by step. No forced marches, no intense work. You can't do all at once. This is impossible. The body must gradually adapt to the difficulty that you create with these exercises. The main goal is gradually hold it until the first signs of slight discomfort, literally 3, 5, 6 seconds, or your heart beats. You do those holds, first on inhale. In the next part, the 6th, we make pauses on exhale, at the end of exhale and before inhale. It goes like this. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause, inhale, pause, exhale, pause, inhale, and so on. And the 7th step is when we put it all together. We have a complete combination of all practices into a whole one. And here you train too. This process takes a lot of time. You can't do it 3 or 5 times. That won't be effective. If we are speaking about the time, it is better to do it for 20 minutes, but much better for 30 or even 40 minutes. And then you see the impact. But when you get involved in this practice, enter the rhythm, you start to like it. You won't even notice how 20, 30 or even 40 minutes will fly. For people who suffer from bronchial asthma, hypertensive crisis, high blood pressure, it can be a pill that helps to alleviate those negative states. This is the practice I highly recommend doing now. It will stay with you for life if you learn it during quarantine. Have a nice day, take care, see you.